Hello, guys, and welcome to the first ever National League South show. The first one today. I'm joined by Connor. Both me and Connor are Chelsea City fans. We're going to try our best and not be too biased throughout the show, and give the correct outlook. A fair outlook to all teams.
And I think the main thing is like we want to also spread awareness and of the National League South and put some more news out there because non-league football is one thing that isn't, in our opinions, reported on enough. So thanks Dave for having me on.
No worries.
It's a great pleasure, and I'm happy to discuss some football because there were some juicy games this week.
Indeed.
I think one of the biggest ones this week had to be Dartford Dorking. Like,
Yeah,
that was
big game there.
it was massive game, and the Dartford coming to win it. From what I watched, won it pretty comfortably in the end, which probably was a surprise to quite a few because Dorking have been really sort of
Yeah,
dominating most of this season. I know when they played Chelmsford recently, it was a really hard game.
yeah,
Really hard game, and they show how good they are. They showed how good they are on the ball, but Dartford managed to find Dawkins' weakness this game. It seemed, which
yeah.
was playing long balls from deep and over the top of their centre backs with their strikers running in behind. Because two of Dartford's goals happened exactly this way. It was they had many other good chances as well. But they went into half time 2-0 up, both goals of the same manner. One from within Dartford's own half, a long ball behind the centre backs, landed to Porter, who slotted it in. Second goal this time within Dawkins' own half, chipped it over the centre backs, and this time it was Denanga who then, with great control, chested the ball down, slotted it past the keeper. I think Dorking came back with a goal, but then Dartford responded again by then taking the 3-1 lead, and I think Dorking then got a late goal, but it was a very well-deserved win for Dartford and a great game to watch for the neutral. So I think just the way how the table looks a bit tight and squeeze
Yeah.
up at top a
I'm
bit. Do
just
you
I'm just
think?
looking at the result beforehand. Like talking about unbeaten in 3 games, heading into that game. So 3 games unbeaten, they lost that game. Dartford heading into that game, they lost one game, but they won they went on to win the third game in a row against Dorking. So it's quite a bit maybe a surprise victory, maybe for Dartford, maybe not. But
Yeah,
I saw Dorking play a few weeks ago when City played them. Dorking, you could tell they looked like had experienced players in their team. Um,
yeah,
they knew what they're doing when the referee is getting decisions wrong, surrounding the referee. Clever, I think that's the right word. And
yeah,
I
yeah. They've
think
got that sort of experience that essentially can take them to that next level.
and they've got a lot of quality in that team, a lot of quality players. They've been very clever this year. They brought in a lot of experience. They've got some youngsters as well, where you can see the difference. A few weeks ago, where Chelsea City played Dorking, you can see the difference between both sides and that
Yeah,
experience. And where City had more of a younger team, like I think the average age was 23, 22 that game when we played them 2 weeks ago, you see the difference. But yeah, that's great for Dartford fans. That'd be a great victory, but the
yeah,
atmosphere would be great there as well. I thought so. Well, Dartford for that one, and I don't usually praise Dartford being a City fan, but that's a great victory it's a great victory for Dartford. So, but
Well,
yeah,
this next topic is going to be even harder for you to discuss because this week Braintree had a massive week. They had two games this week, won them both 1-0, and this is now here the relegation scrap at one point, and this has really drawn them out of it. And in one of the games, they even had a red card in the first half against Chippenham. And going into half time, 0-0, yet Braintree managed to get a goal and see the game out with one man down.
That's amazing.
I think it's showing some real like fighting spirit, and I think their manager Ryan Maxwell is one manager of the month.
Yeah.
And from looking at their form, you can potentially you can see why 1-4 of their last 5. Do you think they're now safe from relegation, Dave?
Yeah, just having a quick look, you see they've done really well lately. You know, I saw them on Boxing Day against Champions City, and I thought they were doomed. I thought they were appalling that day. But since then, they've gone on a nice little run. I think they didn't lose in 8 games, something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, looking at their last 5 results, they've won 4 games and lost 1. You know, they're 16th in the league, and they got an 11-point gap now between them and Ricky in last place.
Yeah.
But looking back at Boxing Day, I thought they were doomed because I didn't see any quality. I didn't see anything from that. I thought they'd get out that, and I think the managers came in and maybe brought some new faces in and brought you know, some fight to the team, and he's done a good job. You know, it's hard to praise Braintree as being a City fan, you know, but they've done well to get out the situation they were in, because I thought they were doomed on Boxing Day. I looked at the team and think, these guys are going down, you know. So
yeah, it was 3-0 on Boxing Day,
was,
wasn't it?
you know,
yeah, so they've really turned things around since then.
Yeah.
Going on for sort of one of this week was full of quite a few big important matches actually, and this one was quite a big game in terms of the playoff position of 7th.
Okay.
Eastbourne Borough against St Albans. Like this win for Eastbourne Borough, managing to win 1-0, is quite big. It now brings them only 1 point behind St Albans in 7th place, and now makes them a serious contender for playoff position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird result. I think Eastbourne versus St Albans, you know, for me, you know, St Albans should be winning that game. I think anyway, personally. I don't know what's happened to Eastbourne. They started really well this year. They started really well. They went on an FA Cup run, and I don't know if the fixture pile up was too much for them. Because I believe at some point they were top of the league, I believe, if I'm correct. At some point during the early season.
Yep.
Top of the league, doing really well.
Potentially.
And I don't know what happened, because they were the team to beat in the league, and now they've gone into some sort of, you know, hit and miss form lately. You know, they were, yeah. So their form lately: a loss, win, draw, and loss. You know, that ain't the best playoff form really, because you need to be getting a playoff. You know, it's quite a big playoff area to get into, but
yeah,
they're you know, there's anybody from, you know, looking at maybe, probably, if I'm being generous, 11th can get into last place.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, I agree. It is. I think it's going to be right to the wire, to that last game week where you're not going to be able to call some of the positions. But I think next week could be quite big for both teams, because St Albans have got a really tough one next week, playing Oxford City. They're on a good string of form. Team that's very good playing the ball from the feet, and then Eastbourne will have a tough game away to Chelmsford City.
Yeah.
Which we'll be at, we'll be at, and I'm sure we'll be able to give you quite a good insight into that game. But talking about Chelmsford, you was at the Havant game, weren't you?
Yeah,
the weekend, Dave.
I was, and really was disappointed really in the end of everything, really, because we had moments of good, like, you know, chances sometimes, good like play, but 2 mistakes really cost us. You know, it's not even a mistake. The first goal was a pass to the keeper slips. Either he lets the player go through and goal, and doesn't collect the ball. But he collects the ball, and it's a direct free kick just outside the, I think, and in the area. Just outside the area. And
Yeah, it was inside the penalty area.
and I remember listening to Robbie's interview saying the player should be on the line.
Yeah,
And I'm looking at it thinking this ball can't go through all these players, and the players just drilled it as hard as he can. It's gone straight through the players.
yeah. The players like in the wall jumped, thinking that he was going to put some height on it. I
Yeah,
think, but he didn't put any height on it at all. Drilled it low, went underneath all the players who jumped
yeah,
right into the corner, and I think the goalkeeper just couldn't like.
yeah.
By the time it come through the wall, like had no time to react.
Yeah, and obviously that having a team that I think have underachieved this year. They've got a lot of good players in that team, and I think they have underachieved this where they are in the league. Have really underachieved this. I think they're going to be top players this year. I don't think they'll get there. I think they're too far away now.
Yeah,
And the second goal is just a bit of a calamity, really.
yeah,
We made a change to go free at the back. And I think miscommunication maybe best I can say. And I think the player's gone through on goal, and Jacobs brought him down, and they've scored from the spot. And then City went on. They fighted. They got a goal for Blackwell. A really good. Actually, on a day, I don't know if it actually went in over the line. I don't on the highlights. Could you see it?
Yeah, I've watched a clip. It easily went over the line.
Because I don't know the great as you.
It hit the back of the net.
Perfect.
But what happened was, I think it hit the either the board or like the metal bit at the bottom of the goal and then pinged straight back.
Yeah,
straight back out.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of the season we're missing key players right now. Wingfield, the captain now. Sorry, he's been out since Hungerford. He got injured early on in Hungerford. We're missing Jackson, who got injured at Hungerford as well. These are key players, experienced players.
Yeah,
I feel like we've missed them sort of players. Jackson can score them little important goals we need, and he's quite clinical in front of goal. We missed that, I think, lately. Blackwell has done amazingly well lately. Since the turn of the year and Boxing Day, he's came on really well. You can see the impact that someone like Jackson has had on him, had on him. So you can see the confidence he's grown in. Because the first bit of the year, you could see him getting adjusting to the league and the more physical side of the league. Definitely, he's came on, and for me, probably up there with Addy as probably one of the young players of the year. Because I think he came in. I think he was on loan at Canvey Island last year, or playing for Canvey Island some part last year. In that league sort of area, and to come to this league, it's not an easy league for young players. This was strikers who are not the tallest, and he's a young lad still. He's come in and he had to fight for that place. I think he's probably one of the first people on that team sheet right now because he has the pace. His finishing is getting better. He's hungry. There's a desire there. And I think there's a lot of he signed a new contract for next year already, and I think the future's bright for this lad because I think he's got a big future. And
yeah, I can't wait to see more of him. I'm excited to see more.
As well. Back on Saturday, Sharon came back in and he's playing as a number 10, sort of behind the two strikers. I think he just for me, he's done all right. He's done okay, but I think he's lacked a bit of match fitness. I know Robbie said in his interview that he didn't plan playing for the whole 90, what he did in the end.
Yeah,
I didn't know that if we played to his strength. At times, I don't think we have played to his strengths a lot this year. I think we looked like last year, his form last year for us, and the way we played last year. I think we played a bit more direct, and that worked for him. I don't think we played maybe a style that suits him all the time. I could be wrong. Let me know if you think that's wrong.
No, yeah, I think direct football suits him a lot better because he is quite a strong he's very good at receiving the ball.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of where he's got that experience and stuff. He knows where to try and make the runs to receive the ball, and got some strength on him too. So I think, and he's good at also playing other players in. Like we saw it, like you saw in the Havant game for that goal.
Yeah,
he helped play the ball in for Blackwell and showing his strength. But I think currently with Dara out,
yeah,
I guess the the plan was to try and play Sheringham in Dara's position,
Yeah.
which just I think a lot of that game was like with the mistakes. It's just where they got such a young squad.
Yeah.
There's going to be mistakes.
Yeah.
But
I
guess moving on.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say moving on from Chelmsford before we bore any non-Chelmsford fans. There was Oxford City, massive win for them.
5-0, blimey. 5-0.
5-0. But I think a lot of that was to do with Tonbridge getting a red card in the 10th minute. It just allowed Oxford City to completely dominate the game, and Tonbridge didn't really have a chance in that one. Both teams on opposite ends of the tables. Yeah. And Oxford City really pushing now for like to try and get as high as they can, and they're even in a position where they could, depending on Dawkins' form, they could even try and go for top spot.
Yeah.
Another game that was quite big in terms of both teams, one team being at the top, one being at the bottom, was Bath Ebbsfleet. But this was another game where it showed the difference in quality between two sides.
Yeah.
Ebbsfleet sort of dominated majority of the game, and Bath like really struggling defensively. Is that something like you know from Bath? Or
normally Bath at home are a tough game to go to, and it could be anything, injuries, it could be suspensions and things like that. Bath are normally a hard team to go to. They've got a nice stadium, good fan base there as well. Ebbsfleet, you never know what you get with Ebbsfleet, because one week they're very good, next week they're hit and miss, and because Ebbsfleet, they're still, they're up there in 5th place, and Bath are 19th. So even Bath are 19th, they still battle. They try and work hard for each other, But yeah, maybe it's Ebbsfleet had too much quality that day, and Bath, they haven't won a game in a long, long time. I think they're past 5 results,
lost 5 out of their last 5.
So maybe that is something to tell you that they're not in great form, and they could, if they didn't have maybe a good start to the season, or it could be more back in relegation, and they're pretty lucky that there's only one team going down this year, because that form's not great in any league.
Yeah, they're very fortunate because, even though they've been so poor, they've got, compared to a lot of teams around them, they did have great start with 9. They've got 9 wins currently, which that's a lot more than even some teams above them currently. But it is that they need to do something soon, because if suddenly Billericay manage to get a bit of form together, which we'll go on to the Billericay game next, then teams like Bath and Welling could, I guess, potentially be dragged into that relegation spot.
Yeah, I think there's one spot, and we'll talk about this more longer, but in the next few minutes. But if I'm Bath, I'm looking down at the table and thinking, can Billericay win? Because they had to win now. They've got to win games and be more consistent than they are, So I wouldn't be concerned yet, but Bath need to pick up points.
Yeah, and their next game is against Welling, so that's a big a big game in that low to try and get out of that relegation scrap.
Yeah, I'm saying.
But yeah, going on to sort of another big game in the bottom end of the table is Billericay Welling.
Okay.
Oh, sorry for any background noise.
Someone just scored.
Yeah, but Billericay Welling, I think both teams will be very disappointed, because both teams had opportunity. Yeah, um, yeah. Billericay, I think both teams will be disappointed they didn't take chances because it was sort of both teams had lots of chances. It was quite good end to end stuff. Standout player for me was probably Billericay's player Akinwande.
Okay.
He with both of their goals, he had involvements with both. He scored the first and also one helped winning the free kick for the first by doing a great run, and is a very sort of strong athletic player at Billericay up there. And then for their second goal, he was the player who won the penalty. He sort of was a menace to Welling's back line throughout the game, but yeah, Welling just were able to get some respond well once from a corner and one with a great long ball that just cut through Billericay's midfield and defence and saw a player through. It was questionably offside.
Okay.
I couldn't really see it too well from the highlights, but I think some of the Billericay players, defenders, potentially thought it was offside, so
Okay.
didn't maybe play to the whistle as much as they should have when their player got through. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Welling, Billericay in those bottom spots now?
Yeah, it's a I honestly feel sorry for Billericay because they've gone through a lot of stuff over the past few years. They've changed their owners. We ain't getting details of what happened and all that stuff. I think the new people that came in had to reduce the budget, and they've changed the managers. I think Steve Pitt. I think Steve Pitt is there right now. I don't know if he's still there.
Yeah, I think. I'll see and then. But yeah, carry on.
They've changed the managers, change of ownership over the past few years, and they couldn't sustain having a high wage bill. And you got to feel sorry for them because they've had to bring in maybe players that are young and taking risk on players, and it hasn't really worked out this year. And I hope if they go down this year, they come back up. It's like that's a good day out for the Claret Army. So
yeah, it's a great great derby that we love.
Yeah. Welling are a team that I always feel either are doing good or down below. And this year they've seemed to maybe because COVID and maybe just the wage bill. I think this year has been such a weird year where we've had COVID at parts of the season where the teams maybe didn't know if it had last the whole year, and maybe being in that scenario, people thought a smaller wage bill, less outcome if they don't have much income coming in. So maybe that has had an effect on Welling.
Potentially.
So yeah,
it has wreaked havoc. I've heard people complaining who are Premier League fans about COVID and Championship. In non-league, it's had even worse effects. But I did have a quick look, and Billericay's Town's current manager is Jody Brown.
Yes.
So
I think Steve Pitt is involved with the management team there. So good. Steve's a good lad. He used to be at City. We love Steve Pitt. Steve, watching. You got good work. But yeah. So going on to Hampton, I believe.
Yeah, Hampton, Richmond, Dulwich Hamlet. So, watch game. Yeah, there was a really early penalty in the game, second minute in, which Dulwich Hamlet would have loved and looked quite strong and had the momentum their way after scoring the penalty. But then, about 10 minutes before half time, Hampton Richmond equalised, and then I think going into the second half, Hampton and Richmond, especially being at home, carried that momentum with them, and one of the Dulwich Hamlet players got red carded early on second half, and it was red card that resulted in Hampton and Richmond getting a penalty,
Okay.
and it was very nicely taken. And then I think after that, Hampton and Richmond just had to see the game out. So for that game, I think Dulwich Hamlet will be very disappointed because they're now they're really going for that playoff position, and Hampton and Richmond are sort of too far away from getting into that spot. So the only team who had something to really play for that game was Dulwich Hamlet. But they they're another side who have had I'd say moments of being great and then not so good.
Yeah,
Chelmsford City went to Dulwich Hamlet and played a blinder there,
100%.
didn't they?
Yeah, great day out for us, the Claret Army. I think a lot of teams have been inconsistent this year, and I think it's due to a lot of games sometimes in a period of time. But I think Hampton and Dulwich, they'll be all right. They'll be here next year. So I think this time of year is just a lot of games being played still, and just. I think there's quality in both. Hampton, Richmond, and Dulwich. There's quality there. I think there's quality players by both teams, and maybe on a day Hampton and Richmond were better. So that's what it was.
Yeah, and then last but not least, the Maidstone Hungerford game, and this was really a game of two halves.
Okay.
Hungerford dominate, having a really strong first half for most of it, scoring 2 goals very close to each other, 18th and 20th minute. And then in the last, in extra time of the first half, Maidstone got a penalty. So that meant going into half time, 2-1 Hungerford. And I think Maidstone were, yet again, sometimes I think you see it a lot in football. If you're able to get a goal just before half time and recover a bit or equalise, then that team who scores that goal right before half time can come out in the second half with a lot more momentum. And then it went even worse for Hungerford. One of their players, Afori, got 2 yellow cards and just about 10 minutes apart from each other. So he ended up going off, and Maidstone ended up going on to win the game with 2 goals in the 82nd and 85th minute. So that puts them now only a few points behind Dorking, and so that was a big game for Maidstone. And I think they were showing real that's the sort of title contending spirit you've got to show, to come from 2-0 behind and then come back and win the game 3-2.
Yeah,
they're really going for it.
Yeah, so they're not too far behind Dorking, 3 points behind Dorking, game in hand as well. So I think that'll be close to a while, I think. So, but in a bit, we'll talk about that in a minute. And I think, Hungerford they've done really well, Hungerford, this year. A team not on a big budget, quite a small budget. The chairman, has done lots of things to get people through the door, and he's done a great job there. I think they do a £20 deal, entrance, a beer, and some food, a programme. Great by chairman. He makes a lot of progress. He's a social media guy as well, does it on social media. So, for me, Hungerford done really well. And they have a small chance of getting into the playoffs, maybe. So, good luck to them, really.
Yeah. And talking about sort of as the table stands currently, because we are getting towards the end of the season now, who would you say your favourites are for promotion as it stands?
You got to look at maybe Dorking and Maidstone. I think Maidstone are the best team I've seen this year play.
Yep.
Dorking, I think I'll be very surprised if we see Dorking next year in this league and Maidstone, because I look at Oxford City, they're very good, but I felt like City could have beat them a few weeks ago. Dartford, you never know what getting Dartford. I said it, and they're a strong team, big players, good players, but can you get over that final hurdle? and beat Maidstone. I don't think they could. Edfleet, like I said earlier, you never know what you get with Edfleet. You know, they could be hit and miss sometimes. So I can't see them going up this year. Maybe next year we'll build a team again. Dulwich, too inconsistent, I think.
Yeah.
St Albans, too
I
inconsistent.
agree. Yep. Yeah, I think it's personally I think it's between those top four. I do think Dorking will get top. Like they've been so lethal in attack throughout the season. Like you just got to look at their goals they've scored. Scored 70 goals, and next team behind them looks like 13 goals behind. So they're
Yeah.
well ahead in goals scored. And I think they are showing that quality needed for getting promotion.
Yeah.
And then, I'd probably lean with you as well and say Maidstone are probably then the favourites. They're showing a good spirit. And then how about when it comes to relegation? I think currently it is looking like Billericay.
Billericay have a game in hand over Bath and Welling. Sorry.
Yeah, the next game's against Hungerford, Billericay, so not going to be easy. But...
They've got to win. I think they've got to win now. They've got to be consistent in their performances. I said I do feel sorry for them. They had a lot of issues over the past few years. And I wish them all the best, but it's really tough for them. I think it's going to be very tough.
Yeah,
so they got 6 points. 6 points gap between them. And I don't know. That's two winning, and we're not picking any points. You know. So yeah, they got hard looking at who got next. Oh dear, Hungerford and St Albans, then Oxford City haven't.
It's not an easy run
It's not an easy run
season for them.
But yeah, I can't see them escaping that. I'm afraid I really don't. And
if it is, then all praise to the
yeah, 100%.
To the manager.
100%.
But also just quickly having a quick look at the National League table and who's it looks like might be coming down, and currently Dover looks certain to come down on -4 points after a -12-point deduction during the season.
Yeah.
And Kings Lynn and Weymouth, like all those three teams look set to come down at the moment because next team above them is 9 points ahead.
Yeah.
So
and I believe Dover and Weymouth would come into our league as well. So
yeah, it'll be interesting, and I'm like looking forward to how the league pans out. Any sort of like standout players for you so far this season?
It's hard. That's very hard to say. Like, you got to look at the players that are playing for Dorking. I think you look at their squad, and Maidstones, their squad, is immense in quality players. And to say one, I wouldn't want to say like one player is. I don't know. I just feel
one player that's gone on to do really well with 22 goals this season is Sean Jeffers.
Yes.
And is some former Chelmsford player.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like doing really well in the league. But I think that's it there. For anyone watching, and if you do live near or not far away from a National League South club or even National League North, and you're like a Premier League or Championship fan, but you've never gone to see a local side go play, I'd 1,000,000% recommend you
100%.
going, watching them, supporting them. It's a completely different experience, but something that you're able to really, I'd say, connect with a lot more and get close, feel closer to the club. So try and get down if you can. Tickets are always affordable in these leagues.
Yeah.
And there's usually a lot better grub at the games compared
Cheaper
to
as well.
and cheaper compared to the bigger leagues.
Yeah, indeed.
But I think that it from
that is it.
me and you, Dave?
That is the first show. This will be a weekly episode as well, guys, on YouTube. If you like today's episode, make sure you share with your friends, tell your friends, and subscribe to the channel as well. Cheers, guys, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.